My name is Tracy Flaherty, and I'm a school principal. I'm in Dr. Everett's EDA 6232 Law and Education course with UWF. This presentation is intended for our school board and the need to create policy change for our code of conduct of bullying. Our goal is to influence policy regarding development of a code of conduct on bullying. In this presentation, you will learn more on our goal of influence for change in our bullying code of conduct policy. We will also learn the definition of bullying. We will learn of recent examples of bullying in schools. We will gain information in a persuasive support and rationale of why having a code of conduct, especially for bullying, is needed. And we will review our goal in the conclusion. In 2008, Florida legislature enacted Florida Statute 1006.47, often referred to as the Jeffrey Johnston Stand Up for All Students Act. The act was named for Jeffrey Johnston, a student from Coral Gables, Florida, who committed suicide after suffering bullying and harassment at school. The law states that bullying or harassment of any student or employee of a public K-12 educational institution is prohibited. With this significant rise of awareness, the U.S. Department of Education held their very first bullying summit on April 11, 2010, just 2 years later. The goal of the summit was to engage governmental and non-governmental partners in crafting a national strategy to reduce and end bullying. The statute states bullying and harassment are prohibited during any educational program, school-related or school-sponsored activity, on a school bus, through the use of data or computer software within the scope of a public K-12 educational institution, through the use of data or computer software that is accessed at a non-school related location, activity, function, or program, or through the use of technology or an electric device that is not owned, leased, or used by a school district or school. From People magazine, Jeffrey was a 15-year-old who hung himself after being tortured on the internet. Debbie Johnston, who you'll see on the slide, channeled her grief of losing her son into action. She helped very purposefully get Florida to pass this anti-bullying, one of the most comprehensive anti-bullying laws in the country. She always said, "There's always Jeff's voice in my head saying, 'Mom, you've got a job to do.'" Bullying includes cyberbullying and means symptomatically and chronologically inflicting physical hurt or psychological distress on one or more students and may involve teasing, social exclusion, threat, intimidation, stalking, physical violence, theft, sexual harassment, religious or racial harassment, public or private humiliation, or destruction of property. There's 3 core features to examine when determining if bullying is occurring to a student or an employee. To see if the act is repeatedly occurring would be the first one, intentionally happening, the second, and if from a difference in power, that would be the third. The difference in power applies most often as the experience divides physical size, age and grade level, gender, strength, social status, cyber skills, and/or elevated risk group. The 3 core features of bullying can include an in-person or on the computer type of bullying, which is referred to as cyberbullying. Anna Mendez of the National Association of People Against Bullying Suicide provided statistics relating to suicide and our nation's young population. The statistics revealed many of current bullying situations in our school districts across the nation. Per Anna, the National Center for Disease Control found that suicide has become the second leading cause of death among adolescents. From the slide, the three graphics detail how kids are bullied, who is bullied based on age, gender, and race or ethnicity, and then the impacts of bullying. Notice the percentages of how kids are being bullied and then references to what age and gender differences they are bullied. With an almost equal balance of school bullying happening on campus versus online, middle school aged girl students have the highest percentages. Anna also relayed two disturbing facts linked to our children's mental mindset, our children's awareness and acceptance of diversity, and our children's control of mental health when respecting others. The National Center of Disease Control shared their findings from climate surveys stating more than twice the number of LGBTQ students are threatened, injured, bullied at school, or electronically bullied than heterosexual students. And over 300 million kids stay home from school at least once per month due to bullying. Two recent news headlines connected to suicide attempts for children under the age of 13 years old. The two students that you see on the screen, one is Isabella, her family called her Izzy, was December 3rd of 2021. She was 10 years old. She was Black and autistic, and her family resided in Utah. She died by suicide after allegedly being bullied by classmates and having her family's complaints ignored. The second student on the screen, Eli, was November 27th of 2021. His family resides in Tennessee. He was 12 years old. He was a 7th grader. He played the trombone and loved the marching band. As our school system builds opportunities for character development, children shall become more socially competent citizens within their environments to help build an overall positive climate. Clemson University published a startling reality stating, schools with anti-bullying programs, bullying is reduced by over 50%. The hope is for each school with an implemented character development program will be able to recognize the three core features and prevent any further harm. To persuasively support why a code of conduct specifically for bullying is absolutely needed by every school district in our nation, in our world, I want to communicate the need to serve our community with the highest integrity. The list must also include instruction on recognizing behaviors that lead to bullying and harassment and taking appropriate prevention action based on those observations. That is from our chapter 1006.146, the Florida statutes for bullying and harassment being prohibited. On the screen, you'll see school district bully policy responsibilities, also taken from that state statutes. They are listed. The first one, responsibilities for each of the school districts. Each school district shall adopt and review at least every 3 years a policy prohibiting bullying and harassment of a student or employee for a public K-12 educational institution. School districts' policy shall be alike and compared to, similar to the Department of Education's model policy. The school district bullying and harassment policy shall afford all students the same protection regardless of the status under the law. all students, parents, teachers, administrators, school staff, school volunteers, community representatives, local law enforcement agencies in the progress and process of adopting and reviewing the policy. All of those stakeholders must have an option to express their feelings. The school district may establish separate discipline action policies that include categories of students. The school district policy must be implemented by each school principal in a manner that is ongoing and sustained throughout the school year and integrated with the school's curriculum, bullying prevention and intervention program, discipline policies, and other violent prevention efforts. With clear responsibilities for each school district set in place per the Florida statutes, each school district must also follow certain criteria or components in their school district policy. This requirement describes the type of behavior expected from each student and employee of a public K-12 educational institution. These components include providing a statement, having clear procedures, conducting an investigation, providing consequences, and maintaining a process of notification with each report. The statement clarifies the meaning of prohibiting and defining bullying and harassment. The required procedures outline safety and security for both the victim and their family, along with the alleged perpetrator. The investigation will be prompt, as explained in the procedures, and include when the child is en route to school, on a school bus, or at a school bus stop. The consequences for a student or employee of public K-12 educational institution who is found to have wrongly and intentionally accused another of an act of bullying or harassment. Lastly, a list of programs authorized by the school district that provide instructions to students, parents, teachers, school administrators, counseling staff, and school volunteers on identifying, preventing, and responding to bullying or harassment, including instruction on the recognizing behaviors that lead to bullying and harassment and taking appropriate preventative action based on those observations, is an absolute must by every school district. This presentation was intended for our school board and the need to create policy change for our code of conduct of bullying. In this presentation, our goal is to create an influence for policy regarding development of a code of conduct on bullying. Within this presentation, we introduced Florida Statute 1006.147. We learned the definition of bullying. We learned examples of current bullying situations in schools. We learned and gained persuasive support for why a code of conduct for bullying is needed. Our goal of developing a revised policy of our code of conduct for bullying will definitely happen as we need our school staff to have appropriate requirements and supports. This describes the type of behavior expected from each student and employee of public K-12 education in our nation. Thank you for your time. This assignment was a pure pleasure to complete. Thank you.